Ever wonder what it was really like before smartphones and endless scrolling? Picture winding your wristwatch every morning or pedaling through the neighborhood on a banana seat bike that made you feel unstoppable. Maybe you remember sitting at a soda fountain, sipping a cherry Coke while the jukebox played your favorite tune. Before we begin, hit like and subscribe because today we're revisiting 10 unforgettable experiences from growing up in the 1962nd that shaped a generation. Few moments in the 20th century matched the awe of the 20th of July 1969 when millions gathered around their televisions to witness Neil Armstrong take that one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. For children of the 1962nd, it was more than history. It was a spark of imagination. Schools wheeled in TVs so students could watch, and suddenly every kid wanted to grow up to be an astronaut. The moon landing wasn't just a scientific achievement. It was a unifying moment. Families, neighbors, and entire communities sat together, their eyes glued to grainy black and white images from the lunar surface. For a generation growing up during the Cold War, it was proof that the impossible could be achieved. Though space travel later became routine, that night in 1969 remains unmatched. It was a shared experience that defined an era, reminding us that wonder, curiosity, and the dream of exploration can bring the whole world together, even if only for a few hours. Step into a soda fountain in the 1962nd and you'd be stepping into a hub of community life. These counters buzz with energy, serving fizzy sodas, thick milkshakes, and towering ice cream sundaes. The soda jerk behind the counter mixed drinks with flair, while kids pressed coins into the jukebox and friends gathered to laugh, gossip, and escape the summer heat. It wasn't just about the drinks, it was about belonging. The clink of glassware, the hum of conversation, and the sweet taste of a root beer float created memories that stuck for a lifetime. For many, soda fountains were where first crushes happened and where after-school rituals became sacred. By the 1972nd, fast food chains and convenience stores began replacing these classic gathering spots. Still, the nostalgia of spinning on a bar stool, sipping a cherry Coke, and hearing your favorite tune play in the background remains one of the most cherished snapshots of mid-century Americana. Nothing embodied a night out in the 1962nd quite like the drive-in theater. Families packed into station wagons with blankets and snacks, while teenagers saw it as the perfect date spot under the stars. You'd park your car in front of the giant outdoor screen, hang the speaker on your window, or later tune in on your car radio and settle in for a double feature. It wasn't just about the movies, it was about the experience. Kids played in the lot before the show started, parents relaxed in lawn chairs, and couples shared milkshakes on the hood of the car. The drive-in felt like a community gathering, turning a simple film screening into an event. As land became more valuable and indoor multiplexes took over, drive-ins declined sharply. Yet the memory of warm summer nights, fireflies flickering, and cinema magic unfolding on a massive outdoor screen remains one of the most beloved traditions of the 1962nd. For boys in the 1962nd, nothing captured the imagination quite like westerns. John Wayne ruled the big screen, while television shows like Bonanza and Gunsmoke brought the Old West into living rooms across America. When Bonanza aired in color, kids crowded into the homes of lucky neighbors who owned a color television just to watch the frontier world come alive. But the fun didn't end on the screen. Children carried their cowboy hats, coonskin caps, and trusty cap guns outdoors, reenacting epic shootouts until dusk. Those toy pistols made a loud pop and even produced a puff of smoke, adding a layer of realism that fueled every backyard standoff. By the late 1972nd, changing tastes and stricter attitudes toward toy guns brought an end to the craze. Still, for those who lived it, the memory of neighborhood duels, the smell of cap gun smoke, and the thrill of playing cowboy remain some of the most nostalgic echoes of childhood adventure. In the early 1962nd, television dinners were nothing short of a revolution. Packaged neatly in a foil tray, these ready-to-heat meals by Swanson brought convenience right into the family freezer. Each tray had compartments for meat, vegetables, potatoes, and even dessert, often a scalding hot brownie or fruit cobbler. Suddenly, families could enjoy a full meal without hours in the kitchen, and best of all, they could do it while watching their favorite television shows. For many working mothers, television dinners were a lifesaver. They fit perfectly into the new rhythm of modern households where evenings revolved around the living room console. Television. Kids loved them too, since every tray felt like a small surprise box of food. As time passed, the novelty wore off. People began to prefer fresher meals, and microwaves replaced the need for foil trays. Still, those first television dinners symbolized a cultural shift where technology, food, and entertainment merged into one modern American experience. Few icons scream 1,962nd childhood like the banana seat bike. With its long, curved saddle and tall chopper-style handlebars, it wasn't just a way to get around, it was a statement of cool. The Schwinn Stingray was the dream model, and owning one instantly made you the envy of the neighborhood. Its bright colors and sleek design gave kids the feeling of cruising like real motorcyclists, even if they were just circling the block. Riding wasn't just transportation, it was freedom. Friends gathered to race down streets, pop wheelies, or show off their new rides at the local park. These bikes were built for comfort and style, turning ordinary afternoons into endless adventures. By the late 1972nd, as BMX bikes rose in popularity, banana seat bikes slowly faded out. Still, the memory of gripping those tall handlebars and pedaling fast enough to feel like you were flying remains one of the most vivid childhood experiences of the era. Childhood in the 1962nd came with toys that would shock today's safety standards. Science kits sometimes produced real fumes. Thingmaker ovens melted plastic into creepy crawlers, and BB guns were practically a rite of passage. These toys weren't about safety, they were about adventure, risk, and learning responsibility the hard way. Scratches, burns, and scars were considered part of growing up, even badges of honor. If you got a blister from the tiny oven or a scrape from chasing a Super Ball that bounced sky high, it wasn't seen as a danger, it was proof that you played hard. Parents expected kids to be careful, but they also trusted them to figure things out. Over time, stricter regulations and recalls phased out these risky toys, making way for safer, softer options. Yet many still look back fondly, remembering the thrill of danger packaged in a toy box and the lessons in resilience those little hazards quietly taught. One of the sweetest parts of childhood in the 1962nd was the stop at the corner store on the way home from school. With just a few coins jingling in your pocket, you could buy a whole bag of candy, an ice cream, soda, or even a malt. For many kids, those loose pennies and nickels felt like a ticket to freedom. The experience wasn't just about the treats, it was the atmosphere. Sitting at the counter, sipping an ice cream soda and listening to the jukebox in the background made you feel grown up, even if only for a moment. Stores were community hubs where neighbors gathered, children laughed, and the simple joy of choosing your favorite candy made the day brighter. As prices rose and lifestyles changed, that magic faded. Today, convenience stores don't offer the same charm, and loose change doesn't hold the same power. But the memory of stretching a few coins into an afternoon of joy still lingers, reminding us how small things once meant everything. In the 1962nd, the morning routine for many children didn't involve waiting for a school bus or being driven by parents, it meant walking to school, often alone. Even kids as young as 6 would set out with nothing but their lunch packed and a sense of direction. Safety concerns were minimal, and parents trusted that their children could find their way, sometimes alongside siblings or neighborhood friends, but just as often on their own. What made it even tougher was the lack of backpacks. Those didn't become common until the 1972nd. Instead, students carried textbooks, notebooks, and loose papers tucked under their arms. On rainy or windy days, the struggle was real. Books slipped, papers scattered, and hands grew sweaty from the effort. This independence gave children a sense of responsibility and resilience. It also painted a picture of a different era when trust, community, and self-reliance were built into everyday routine. Looking back, many remember the weight of those books and the freedom of walking to school as defining parts of their childhood. Back in the 1962nd, starting your day often meant reaching for your wristwatch and winding it by hand. Unlike today's battery-powered or digital watches, most timepieces then required a gentle twist of the crown each morning. That small click-clack sound was more than mechanics, it was a ritual, a reminder that the day had officially begun. The practice made people feel connected to their watch, as though it was a trusted companion that needed their care to function. This simple routine faded as quartz and battery-operated watches became affordable and widespread in the 1972nd, eliminating the need for daily winding. What was once second nature became a forgotten habit. Yet for those who lived it, the memory of winding a watch carries a sense of mindfulness, of being present in a slower-paced world. Even today, collectors of vintage timepieces treasure mechanical watches for this very reason. They're not just instruments of time, but symbols of patience, ritual, and an era when every tick truly counted. These weren't just gadgets, toys, or routines. They were pieces of life that shaped a generation. From winding a watch by hand to watching the moon landing together, every memory carried a sense of wonder and connection that feels rare today. Maybe it was the freedom of walking to school alone, or the joy of sipping a root beer float at the soda fountain that stands out most to you. So which of these 1,962nd experiences do you remember or wish you could have lived through? Drop a comment and share your story. And if you enjoyed this nostalgic trip back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more journeys into America's past.